everybody, and welcome into the Super Bowl podcast here at the GCU Recording Labs. My name is Braden Dorman. Alongside me, David Arnold, Harper Hauk, and today's special guest, who is a starter for the Grand Canyon University men's basketball team, a celebrity on campus, as rumors are he's dating Margot Robbie, and most importantly, a warrior for Christ in a world where he is told not to. Welcome in, Gabe McGlothan.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Appreciate you, fellas.
Gabe, thanks for coming on during the season. This is, a busy time of year. We're almost to March. This is the best time of the year for a lot of us college basketball fans, and especially for you. You're living it out. But if you could just kind of let everybody know who you are, give us a quick background, and then we're going to get into some sports talk.
Yeah. So Gabe McGlothan, just a senior on the GCU men's basketball team, and just a Christian at most. That's the main thing. So just trying to be a warrior for Christ, like you said, and trying to use something that, I've been blessed and had the ability to do, play college basketball and, make it something worthwhile, not just let this platform go to waste. Do something with it.
Amen.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, before we get into your full story, we got to talk the Super Bowl. I mean, our podcast is super bold. We have to talk Super Bowl. And I know we all got some experience. It was right here in Phoenix, so it was a cool time to be in this area. It went to the Chiefs, 38-35. I know none of us probably had any hand in this game. I don't think you're a Chiefs or Eagles fans.
No,
probably.
Yeah. No.
Are you a Cardinals fan?
I'm a Cardinals fan.
There you go.
That sucks.
I'm sorry. It's been sad. It's been sad.
Yeah. But thoughts on the game? I mean, I'm the only one in here that picked the Chiefs to win. So you guys got anything to say about that?
Props to you, man. I mean, the Eagles, man, the front four of the Eagles were disappointing in this one. I thought that was really the difference. I thought the Eagles defense would show up just a little bit more than they did. And man, but props to Mahomes doing it again, man. He's something else for sure.
Yeah. He broke the MVP curse. The last time someone won the season MVP award and the Super Bowl in the same season was 1999, Kurt Warner.
Wow.
So it's been a while. And MVP Mahomes is him.
Yeah, and also another outspoken Christian, so good to see. Him and Hurts. So
yeah, it was
two
cool
good
to see them both
quarterbacks
praying before the game.
And they both went off,
yeah.
So I thought that was a good game. I know you didn't get to see the whole entire game, but anything that stuck out to you with that game?
I just got to say the first half for the Eagles, oh my goodness. Like the offensive coordinator, he is a special coach. Because, I mean, they looked like they were in control for the most of the first half. I mean, they had that fumble, and then it went the other way. But I'll tell you, just the aggressiveness that they had, they're coming at it. And then just changed the second half. Mahomes came out and was like, you know what? Screw the ankle. I'm going.
Yeah.
That's both Chiefs Super Bowls under Mahomes. Like, the Niners were controlling the entire thing a couple years ago, and then they scored like 3 touchdowns in like 6 minutes. So when it comes to the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl, Mahomes just has it. So that's our Super Bowl talk. I mean, I guess we're going to have to miss talking about football for a little bit, but Chiefs take the Super Bowl. I finally get something right in the playoffs. I feel like I just continue to get the wrong picks.
You finished off well.
Yeah, hey, that's what matters.
Yeah.
That they'll remember this one. They'll remember this one.
That's true.
Cool.
Sure.
All right, so today's draft we're going to do with Gabe is somewhat, similar to what you're into. We're going to do 21st century college basketball players. We're all going to draft 3 players in a snake draft. I'm excited to see just the range of players we go with here. Who's starting us off? Is it David?
That's me, yeah. First pick. Feels good. I'm going to go with an NBA superstar. He was also a superstar in college. Kevin Durant from Texas. Averaged 25.8 points per game, 8 rebounds, AP All-Player of the Year. I mean, numbers speak for itself. I got Kevin Durant.
I was kind of hoping people would forget about him, but I'm also not going to have stats just ready to go like that.
See, I'm prepared. I'm ready.
Me neither.
I'm ready, America.
Okay, who's number 2? Me?
Me or you?
I'll go number 2.
Okay.
I'm going to go kind of crazy here, but he was an absolute star in college. We don't really hear from him anymore. I'm going Jimmer Fredette, BYU. Talk about a guy that could just take a game over and just one of the best shots of all time in college basketball. Jimmer Fredette was something else. One of my favorite players to ever watch. I'm going to take him while I can.
Okay.
Respectable. The person I got to go with, Carmelo Anthony. Come on now. I think he had the best tournament run. He's one of the best college basketball players to ever just play basketball in college. Like, he just straight dominated. So, I mean, I'm happy with my pick.
The orange. Nice. I like Carmelo a lot. There's so many good players. Like, our team's going to be stacked.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
Well, I'm really happy with these back-to-back picks. I'm going Kemba Walker and Steph Curry here. Steph Curry, he put Davidson on the map. That 2008 run where he led them to Elite Eight. I mean, that's got to be one of the best March Madness runs. And then Kemba Walker with the iconic step back against Pitt.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the coolest shots ever. So, pretty happy with those two.
2 guards. 2-guard system. I like it. Kind of like what GCU likes to do.
A little bit. It's a little combo.
Yeah.
So coming back to me, all right, this is one I got to experience firsthand.
Okay.
Ja Morant.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Like, I know in the NBA now, he's a bunch of scoring, all this, but in college, he could pass the rock. Like, I remember just going up playing against him, like, over in the help defense, and then his eyes, just the way he'd look. Like, he'd look like he's going to get a score and then just dish it off to the person right next to him. And it's like, just different. So
I did not know you played him either.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sweet.
Talent. I'll tell you that. Like, that was the first person I was like, oh, snap. Like, he's got it. He's got it. So,
He's
Ja
balling
Morant.
in the league now. So,
Yep.
Isn't that interesting though? Like, he went from that pass first guy, like win team guy, and now in the NBA in today's age, I've talked about it a lot. I don't know why. I kind of hate on the NBA a little bit. Just the style of play. I love the college team camaraderie a little bit more, but he's just now just a scorer.
Yeah.
And scorer first. He still can pass it, but it is just kind of crazy how guys' game will just completely change when they get to the NBA.
Yeah, completely different game for sure.
I think that has to do a lot with the culture too. You know, like college, it's all about like, you know, we got to win as a team. Like, we got to play together. But NBA, it's like, okay, I got to keep my longevity in the league. Like, how am I going to do that? Winning, yes, that's the most important part. But sometimes it's like, well, if I can keep my name on this roster, like, it's a business at the end of the day. So that's why I agree with you. College is my way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'm glad we're on the
you're
same
a little
page.
biased there, I think.
A little biased.
Yeah, maybe a little
biased.
bit.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, do we not all agree there?
No, I agree. No.
We could go into a huge
just-
conversation
yeah.
on that, but
I agree.
I also know a lot of people love the NBA, which I respect. But here, my next pick is going to be a guy that played alongside Ja Morant at one point, but not in college, not in the NBA, in high school. I'm going with Zion Williamson, a guy that took over college basketball for an entire year. We've been waiting for him since he's 15 years old. We were watching highlights of him dunking on people at a super young age, and it's crazy how he's evolved to where he is now. I think about the shoe game where he just stepped out of his shoe. The games, just the dunks on those fast breaks. I mean,
Just
really,
dominant.
Sean Miller more like is what I would compare it to.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zion was just a show, and he led Duke on a big run himself, and that was a special team. So I'm gonna go Zion here. I pick number 6.
Great pick. I mean, he was so. Everybody had to watch him. You had to watch him, you know? So, number 7, I'm going to go with Blake Griffin from Oklahoma.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, he averaged a double-double. I mean, people forget how good he was at, like, just setting his teammates up as well in college. He wasn't just a dunker, you know, like he was in the NBA, a lot of highlights. And I think Blake's my guy here. So that was number 7. For number 8, I am going to go with a shooter to round out my team. JJ Redick from Duke.
Nice.
I like. He's Player of the Year in 2006. He's a Blue Devil. I mean, Duke, obviously illustrious history. Got JJ here. Got JJ.
That's a solid team. Man, I've got a couple guys that I'm between here. I think I'm going to make one of these guys happy here behind the camera here, Michigan State fan. I'm going to go with the guy I just loved for some reason, Denzel Valentine, Michigan State. I have probably a little bit of recency bias because I am a younger gentleman, but Valentine was special in college, and there was one year where he got upset early on, but the next year he took it pretty deep. So Denzel Valentine, one of those guys that you don't think of immediately when you think of Michigan State. A lot of people think of Draymond, some other guys, but I like Denzel a lot. So I'm gonna go
Right
with that.
before Valentine's Day. How about it?
Right before Valentine. That's exactly
That's
why.
why.
I picked
That's
him.
why it's named Valentine's Day. If anybody didn't know.
Yeah, after Denzel. Yeah.
For my pick, I'm going to go for someone who can hold it down in the middle of the paint, you know, take care of it on the defensive end. and I got to go with Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
So, you know, blocking shots, grabbing boards, then also just a beast, honestly. So that'll be my 3.
Okay.
Well, you guys took half of my board between the two of you. You guys got Melo, Anthony Davis, and Blake. But for my last pick, I'm going to go with a homer pick here. Grant Williams.
Come on.
Oh, man.
That's my UT man right there. He's a really good supporting role in the Celtics now, but when he was at Tennessee, he was dominating the offensive stats in the SEC. So that's my draft.
You guys are all going very offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got some defense in there.
Yeah,
And
there was
also
some
Anthony
defense.
could
Yeah.
score too. But
Yeah, he could score it too,
Yeah.
but he was holding it down. So, I mean, all the guys that I picked, I mean, I don't know necessarily too much about Melo, but I was looking like, okay, on the flip, like they could all guard you guys.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Two-way. Yeah.
All right. Well, make sure you vote who had the best team in the comment section below. I think we all have some pretty stacked teams, so I think there's going to be a lot of dispersity around these votes here. So, yeah, let us know, and we will also post something on Instagram. So, I guess we'll see who comes out on top in that draft. But now let's get into the conversation we want to have, and that's getting down to the roots of Gabe McGlothan and really getting to know why you are the person you are today and why people should be rooting for you as a man of God and a guy that's leading this team on a university that does put God first. And it's a really cool opportunity for you, I would imagine. So just kind of explain, I would say, just how it is to play at GCU. First off, because of that Christian aspect, but also the atmosphere is pretty incredible for people that don't know.
Yeah, no. So the thing I'd say first is just honestly playing in a crowd that feels like home. You know, like they all have your back, and then to know that they back your faith as well, like that's a different type of thing. I mean, the first time I saw you guys' podcast was on, you know, when you guys talked about Tim Tebow and everything like that, and then to find out that it's like, you know, GCU based, like that just speaks even more volumes. Like there's stuff moving here, and to know that, you know, you can go out in the court, have that backed with you,
Right.
and that, you know, like everyone's rooting for you, and, you know, it's all about God at the end of the day. So that's kind of the main thing. Just GCU, like it creates an environment where you can really just thrive and grow in your faith, and then also just be who God made you to be and try to be at the loudest volume.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about the Havocs? Like they're pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's just such a home court
Gotta
advantage
be.
rather. But you guys have to be feeling way more confident when you're playing at home.
Yeah, I mean, there's night and day. You go anywhere else, there's nothing like it. You know, they could have the stands honestly even full if you wanted at an away game.
Yeah.
Still nowhere close to the Havocs. So, it's a blessing. It's a party. You know,
Yeah.
you have to constantly remind yourself that this isn't normal now. Like this is not normal. Like you play in front of it every home game, and it's like, wow, like you really gotta like count your blessings. Be like, this is absolutely amazing, and just soak it all in. I mean, I don't think like I will honestly ever like truly be like understanding of how much of a blessing this is. Like I'll always be like super grateful, all that stuff, but man, like it's just unbelievable. Like you can't put it into words. You can't even put it into a feeling. Like it's just like overwhelming. Like it's wow.
I would imagine that's gonna be something you're gonna be able to hold on to forever.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, a team driven and led by faith. I mean, really cool. Just the whole student body, everything at GCU, man. It's all faith oriented, and your coach Bryce Drew, obviously outspoken Christian. What is it like playing for him and playing? You know, how much does he bring faith into play in the locker room?
Yeah, I think that's a huge culture thing. You know, like you have the baseline. Like the baseline is the best thing, the foundation, and it's God first.
Yep.
And so whenever we go through, like before every game, we have a chapel, you know, talk about the Lord. And then honestly, like the people who don't know Christ yet, like they have an opportunity to hear the word. They have an opportunity to like continuously learn and grow, whether that be in their own faith or whether they're just learning about themselves as men. And then like even just on the personal level, you know, like if you're struggling with something, like having a conversation and, you know, he has some way to relate to it and then always point it back to God. And it's like, you know what, growing up as like a Christian, you know, I don't know everything yet. Like I still got a lot to learn in my faith. And so having someone that, you know, you're spending 24/7 with can be able to speak wisdom into that part of your life, like basically your whole life, like that's huge, you know?
Yeah, we go to North Phoenix. I believe you do as well. and he came in and spoke, and it was pretty cool to hear his entire story.
Powerful.
And also, feel free to let him know he's always allowed to come on the show, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But it is clear that he got to the top. He got to the NBA, and the distractions, the temptations, they are at the highest when you get to that level. And the fact that he handled it the way he did, I can tell that obviously he's got to be just an absolute amazing coach on that aspect. Even past all the basketball knowledge that he provides, which is probably insane. Just keeping you guys locked in and week out, it's got to be pretty cool.
Speaks to his strength of his faith too. I mean, you're at the highest level, getting like all the glory, all the riches. Yet you have the strength to be like, you know what, this isn't where I think God's calling me. And he ended up leaving for those reasons. And it was just like, wow, like to be able to, be so tapped in and be like, this is the most important thing, that it outweighs like the temptations of all the worldly things at its highest.
Yeah.
Like that just speaks so much to his faith. I mean, I try to think about putting myself in that situation, and it's like, man, that's a test. That's a big test. And honestly, he passed it. So
That's the test we're always battling every day.
yeah,
Yep.
right?
Never stops. Yeah.
Never stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, many can see that he's a great leader, and many can see that you're a great leader on the team.
Appreciate
How would you describe that role? How would you describe how your faith has helped you in that role?
Oh, it's all about service. Faith is about service. It's about the other person. Jesus came down here, not to, say like, oh, I'm perfect or anything like that, but to take all the sins that we had that we couldn't pay for. And he went to that cross, carried that cross, and then got crucified on it so that all our sins could have a burial place, and that it can just, we can be made new and reborn with him 3 days later. And so just being able to look at that and compare, how can I be like Christ?
Right.
It's like, he serves without ever expecting anything in return. And it's like, like to these guys, like, it's like, with love, with hard work, with honestly just anything, just serve them in any way possible. So that's what leadership's about. I'm not perfect at it.
Sure.
But like that's the heart behind it. And that's where it's like, it takes you outside yourself. And I think that's what a leader is not the ceiling, but the floor. And they lift people up. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say humility comes into place, because it has to. Like, you think about all the colleges. College football is probably as big as it gets, and GCU doesn't have football. So this is the football. This is the biggest thing for any sport fan at GCU. You guys are the celebs on campus. As I mentioned, I joked about, but like it's true, and you know this, and you feel it. I'm sure you can't probably walk down without somebody saying something or looking at you. But also it gives you added pressures where you feel like you have to live up to what you have to walk the talk. But as you said, you're not perfect. So how do you balance those two things? Because I know it's never gonna be fair, and there's always gonna be people that are hating on you, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I mean, you just gotta take it. Honestly, like there's a lot of things that I know Christ went through.
Yeah. No doubt.
And it wasn't fair to him, but it doesn't give us the right to, step out of place and, act any different. So one of the things that always resonates with me is like we are a representation of the Christian faith. Whenever we take that name and hold on to it ourselves, like everything that like we interact with, whoever we interact with, our actions are shown as like, oh, this is what a believer of Christ does. And so that's where the humility comes in. It's like, you know what, like, let me get all stepped on. That's where the word meekness comes into play, where it's like having the strength to be able to, fight back, but not doing it. And that's where the ultimate strength is. When you have, I'm forgetting the word, but just like that, like get back. It's like, all right, like I'm gonna relax. Like, I know and I trust in the Lord enough to let him handle all that stuff. And I'll just, be a servant and do what I'm supposed to do. And the cool thing on the reverse is just you can plant seeds that way too. It's like, why did they respond that way? Why did, I gave so much like anger towards that person, but yet like they just showed, a cool resolve or some love back. And it's just like, that's just so different than I've ever felt. And that's where the seeds get planted, where it's like, yeah, man, this is, you could tell that person's a believer.
Yeah.
And then they look at God and they're like, I want some of what he's having because it's just different. I might need that.
Yeah. It's countercultural. I mean, we live in a culture where, please you, do what you want to do, be whoever you want to be. And it's different, living for Christ, no doubt. And there's sacrifice that comes with that, as you've talked about for sure. And I just want to kind of switch gears a little bit and go, I'm sure, playing the game at the level you're playing at in college, man, like there's a temptation to take pride in that and to be like, man, this is all, I'm here for me. I'm here for all, these a lot of these temptations, the Havocs, awesome. People cheering you on. And I'm sure in that moment, man, it can be so easy to maybe let pride even, sweep in a little bit and try to take you off course. I just want to kind of hear about how you keep God first in that area in your life and really every area of your life when temptation comes. How do you stand firm?
Yeah. I don't want to say I'm not perfect at it at all.
Yeah,
there's times where I struggle with it, where it's like, man, like, am I really, holding God up to the level that he should be at, like the ruler and master of my life?
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose focus on that. But I think that's where it's important to constantly remind yourself of like your faith and go through the book, go through the Bible, read it, remind yourself, keep connecting to the source. It's like your phone, right? Like your phone loses battery, it drains. But the only way to recharge it is to connect it to the source. Like God's our source. And so it's like we got to plug ourselves back in to get recharged and get that reminder. And so that's that. And honestly, like if there's a bad, current flowing through it or bad, like, posture in our heart, like that's where when we connect to the source, it can convict us. And then that's where, the Holy Spirit comes in, convicts us, and we become resolute in our convictions.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, you're spitting, man.
Yeah.
Let's keep on that basketball track. Right now, you guys are having a successful season. There's been some ups and some downs.
Yep.
I appreciate you still coming on after a tough game this weekend where you guys were hoping to come away with a really good win at Seattle. There's been some injuries this year. There have been some games you guys should have won that you lost. There's been some games that you guys probably should have lost that you came back and won. Through it all, just how is the team doing right now? Where's their mental state at, and I guess how is Bryce attacking things?
Yeah, I think it's to test the culture. That's just the baseline of it all. Just the faith, and honestly the faith that brewed this love that we have for these guys on this team. And so, we've taken some hits, preseason player of the year going down, torn ACL, all that stuff. Throughout the year, we've had many of our starters going down with different injuries.
Yeah.
And so it's just like fighting on one leg half the time. But it's the love that's really carried us and the belief that we have in ourselves where it's like, okay, we're still learning. It's that attitude of like, we're not giving up, that hard work. But, it's been slow. But I'm super excited to see what the future has in store for this team. And I think what the game plan honestly is for this team is just mentality. Like it's
like that.
We're sharpening our mentality. Like we, can be down in battle, all this stuff, but we're going to take the time to sharpen our swords, sharpen all our tools. Yeah. And so when it comes time, like we can, be ready. So I think that's our mentality. It's just like, you know what? Keep going to work, keep sharpening those tools, and one day it's gonna be sharp, and we're gonna be able to just cut through the competition. So,
yeah, it's kind of cool too because you guys, Harper's swimming right now. You guys are getting to that last stage.
Yeah, week left.
You two are the two of us were talking about it last night. Like it's like go time, and football's over. This is like it's college basketball time right now.
Yeah.
So like, I think you two could really have a kind of a similar experience. Like it's go time right now. Like, what are we gonna do right now to take that extra step?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's like it's getting close to winning time now.
Yeah.
And it's like we got to tie up all the loose ends and get to work. But it's just trusting the work, trust your work, and have crazy faith. So those are the two things we're carrying with us. And I don't know about you, but yeah.
Well, I was gonna say to build off that, we've really tried to focus on being the best versions of ourselves. There's so many factors and variables in competitions and in games. You can't control all of it. So as long as you keep working at it every day, being the best versions of ourselves and controlling the controllables, trying not to complicate it, that makes it a lot easier for the path of success.
Especially in basketball. We've seen you cannot always control everything, obviously. So talk about the fruits of, I know you were talking about it before the show, but just like, you've been putting so much work in, and you felt like it all hasn't come back the way you expected, and that's life. That's the life of a Christian. Even just, man, we put so much into God. We put so much faith, and he gives us a different answer. He doesn't give us the yes or the no, but he gives us something that we weren't even expecting at all. So how have you gotten through that? Just because this season, I'm sure, has not gone the way you expected it.
Yeah. No, it's been rough. I'll be honest. Like, there's been times where it's just like, what's going on? You know, where there's been doubts in my mind, and that can go with the team, that can go with personal stuff. But I'd say, just attacking this personally, like, I was in the gym shooting all summer. Like, shot was feeling great, and then summer, fall comes, we're practicing, like, shooting the ball the best I ever had, like the best the team has ever seen me shoot the ball, all that. Best of my whole life. So I'm like super excited, ready to go into season, like just strapping, just ready to knock down a bunch of green balls, all that stuff, and just go for it. Green lights, green lights, green beans. And so, but then we get into our first scrimmage, and it's just 0 for 6. And I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, I was shooting, like, I make 5 or 6 of those in practice, like in our scrimmages, all that stuff. And then it continues on, and it's like, you know what? Okay, well, I'll stay to course, you know, keep working and try to get it back, try to, you know, just go through it. And I'm thinking, like, is it mental? Is it, you know, just like maybe some mechanics physically that's just throwing me off? And so just continue to working. And then it's like, okay, we get to the halfway point of the season where we transition from non-conference to conference. It's like, you know what? We'll keep working. And it's going to change definitely in conference. Like, something's going to click. Still struggling through it a little bit. But I honestly think it was just a teaching point that God was trying to teach me. You know, like, I read through Romans this year, and today, like, I was just sitting there thinking, and it kind of got pressed on my heart, and it was like, and this has been a thought a little bit, but I think it finally clicked today. And when you work hard, you don't always get the results. You don't always get the fruit. And so it's weird because you think of hard work and you're like, oh, if I work hard, there's got to be this reward at the end. Like, that's what honestly everyone sells you. You know, like, go to the gym. Like, you're going to get bigger. Like, you get those instant, you know, rewards. If you just spend time, like, you're getting that reward. But, like, what about when you don't get that reward? And so it's been eating away at me. And today it finally clicked. And it was like, you know what? Like, when I don't get that reward, how am I still going to act? Am I still going to go to the gym? Am I still going to do this, do that? And do it the right way. And then the verse popped into my mind of Romans 5, 3-5, where it talks about, you know, when you go through suffering, like, that leads to perseverance, which is the hard work. But then, like, what if that perseverance doesn't work? Well, then that leads to character. And so it's like, you know, I believe God is refining, you know, my character, making sure that, like, even when things are going good and going bad, like, your character is the most important part. You don't need a reward because I'm working the reward in you. And so with that character then leads to hope. And that hope, like, gives you new life. And it could even give new life to other people. You know, just seeing that character, that light that you shine inside you, being able to, you know, impact others. That's way more important than a reward of hitting a 3 during a game, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so that's kind of been the lesson that I've been learning. And then you can go down the list. Like, it's a giant list, and it ends with love. And so it's just like, have love in everything you do. And if you work through the process, like, God's going to take care of you. Just trust it. Trust your work. Have crazy faith. And just let God work what he's got in you. Trust him.
Yeah.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it may sound weird, but praise God for the hard times. Like, I mean, they don't, you know, you're not the same person without them. I mean, like you said, just almost the, you know, being sharpened, you know, being made into the person God's called you to be, you know. I think about my walk, and, man, without the hard times, you know, the good times don't feel as good. And, you know, I'm not the same person that I am. So, man, on those mountaintops, just being able to enjoy those moments, and, man, there's nothing better. And in those valleys, knowing that, you know, God's there, God's with you, and hold on to what you heard on the mountaintop, because you'll be back. And obviously we have that reward in heaven waiting for us, which is a whole other thing and just so special. But yeah, I love that. Love that.
And to tag along to that too, it's reminding me of, like, you know, regardless the good or the bad, that's where, you know, when you can find that peace in the bad, that's where it talks about, like, you know, you have that peace that transcends all understanding. Like, you shouldn't be feeling like, all right, you shouldn't be feeling, you know, peace in the midst of this. And honestly, like, I'm gonna keep working. And if I don't hit a 3, it's all right. Like, I have peace with it because I know what God's doing in my life. And I know that there's a purpose for this, a bigger purpose than, you know, what I'm thinking it's going to be for right now with hitting shots. So it's just a peace that transcends all. And I like that because it's like the mountaintops or the valleys, like God will meet you wherever you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go off that, I think going off peace, we can shift to a new question here. We know that we can't have Christ without sacrifice, that we have to sacrifice our time and our life in our own ways in order to really see God in our life. What are some things you've had to sacrifice in your life? And
There's been a lot. Oh, man. I'd say, you know, pride is one of those things, you know, that can creep in.
Sure.
And that's just been, you know, something that, like, is a subtle, you know, killer in my mind. Like, you don't see it creep in. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, it's at the door, and then it just,
there.
like, slowly lets itself in. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's there. And so being able to just stay connected, you know, and be able to, like, be mindful of it and be aware of it, like, that allows me to, you know, stay grounded. But then on the other half of it, you know, like, the girl side of things, you know, like the temptations of life that happen. And it's like, you know, what type of life do I want to live? What type of man do I want to be?
Right.
And then what type of family do I want to have one day? You know, like, all that is connected. And, you know, you say sacrifices, it sacrifices now, but, like, there's rewards that are, like, honestly, in my opinion, secretly hidden. Because it's like, yeah, God has all these things, these commandments that he asks us to do. But, you know, he says all sin is the same, right? All the sin
Right.
is the same, but it doesn't mean the consequences don't weigh out each other in the world, right? So, you know, like, if I'm, you know, doing stuff before marriage, you know, that is the same as, like, you know, telling a lie or something like that, right?
Sure.
So it's kind of crazy to wrap your mind around that. But the consequences is, like, who knows how that's going to affect my future wife one day? You know, a lie, you know, it could just be gone tomorrow, you know,
Yeah.
just forgotten about. But, you know, like, there's different consequences to everything in this worldly world, but, like, they're all the same to Christ and God, because it's just like, that's the, you know, the main thing. Like, that's who we're fighting for. And I think at the end of the day, you got to check yourself. Are you doing this for worldly things, or are you doing this for Christ? And so it's just like, that's why you try to beat everything. Sorry, I got off
No,
topic
you're
of
good.
the
And
thing,
I
but
want to say something about that. I like what you mentioned about the hidden blessings. When we're sacrificing our time and our attention to God, we're doing it because we know we're unworthy, undeserving, and we need to give him everything we are and more, right? But it's like you said, those blessings come from it. We're not doing it for the blessings. We're doing it because we need God. And without him, we're nothing. But the blessings come with it.
yeah.
So I like what you were saying there.
And it honestly checked. Like, I had my heart checked a while back. He was like, am I doing this for me, for these, like, worldly blessings that I'm looking for? Or am I doing it just straight up just for God? And so that hit me hard, because it was like, I don't know, like, maybe I'm doing this so I don't have to, like, you know, deal with the worldly consequences. But at the end of the day, like, what's the most important thing? Are you doing this for God? Are you doing this to please God? Or are you doing this just so you can have a good life? And it's like, that's one of the hardest things that I've had to swallow. It's, who are you doing it for? Yourself, honestly? Or, like, you could be living the right life, but are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for God?
Yeah.
And that was one of the hardest things that I've had to take.
Yeah, it's like that outward expression that you're showing that people see, but on the inside, you know, you can be battling something that nobody knows about, and that's everybody. I know you know that, but yeah, I mean, what a crazy thing. And our group talks a lot about just how cool it is to just, like, be present in the moment and just look back on all the blessings that God's given us,
Right.
and, like, wow, that moment really sucked, but I am so glad that moment happened. Like, that just formed me into the person I am right now. Like, where would I be without that horrible moment, or that moment where I felt shame, or that moment where I felt guilt? Like, wow, it's just, that's one of the best things to do, and that allows us to remain in complete control. Like, that God's got us, man. God's got us. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because about 3 years ago, we talked about this. You gave your life to Christ, and you rededicated your life to Christ. And that's interesting, because that's something that we all kind of relate to a little bit.
Yeah.
That's something I relate to. I definitely got away from God a little bit as soon as I came to college. And rededicating my life to Christ is something I'm just so excited about and still working on every single day. So explain that process, because you're still 3 years in, but man, you're still learning new things every day, I would imagine.
Yeah. So getting to that point where I got to rededicate my life, like it was really just, I had torn my meniscus, all this stuff. So out of basketball, and it was like kind of going through an identity crisis. It was like, who am I? You know, I came here, and for all I know is I'm a college basketball player. Like I don't know too much about myself. Yeah, I could work hard. I could, you know, I'm in the degree I'm in, but it's like, who is, you know, Gabe McGlothan? And then that's where, you know, a friend came up to me, started inviting me to church, and I just started going, and it was baptismal Sunday, and all of a sudden I saw people getting baptized, and I was like, man, I need this. Like this is something special, you know, seeing people come up with that pure joy on their face out of the water. And I was like, yeah, this is special. So chasing that's where I started, you know, knowing I need to get on the right course. And then from then, like, that when I surrendered my life to Christ, one of the realest things was said to me by my friend that invited me to church. He was like, I hope you understand, like, this is going to be the hardest thing you ever do in your life.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wrap my head around it at the time, but oh my goodness, even just in this like short 3 years, like, man, the battles that you face, they are so difficult because the devil is trying to get at you. Like he is trying to tear you down and separate you and just like keep that distance from you and God. But even just like growing through and fighting through all like the old past traumas that you've had, like that's difficult too, but most rewarding. Like I can tell you there's a difference between happiness and then there's a major difference with that joy.
Yeah.
Like those two things,
Amen.
like joy comes with peace, in my opinion. Like happiness, like you can be sad and then you have a spurt of happiness, but peace
Temporary.
and then joy, yeah, like that lasts. And I've never felt that before, but with Christ, like, oh my goodness, like the hardest thing in my life, most rewarding thing in my life.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. I mean, the enemy doesn't work hard on the people who just go to church on Sunday and live however they want the rest of the 6 days, you know? I mean, the people who are all in, committed to this walk, he comes after and he doesn't hold back. And man, it's challenging. It's challenging through the, you know, those tough days where, man, you feel like giving up, feel like, man, when am I going to get to experience another mountain? You know, what's next? You know, I imagine like there's been a lot of those, you know, on this journey. And of course, playing, you know, at the level you're playing at, just when you look back on all the things in your life and just where God has brought you to today, what comes to mind? I mean, I know there's been so many highs and lows and we all experience them, but how has he used those to just shape you into who you are sitting here today?
Man, I think like the coolest thing that I've seen is just the blessings that, you know, of like him changing me as a man and like seeing how that can really impact somebody else. And I think that's been the most rewarding part, honestly, is just, you know, trying to change, you know, and be a better me has given somebody else hope, you know, like giving them a path to finding Christ. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'd take that. You know, there's a lot of blessings that I can count, you know, being a Division I basketball player, you know, having the great Havocs, all this stuff, like take that. And that's where God has led me and all this stuff. But truly like being able to see someone's like change and revival in life, like there's no other feeling. Like it's just like, wow, like it's the joy for somebody else that is the best thing to me. And I think that's where God has led me, and I think that's where God's going to continue to lead me, you know, praise God. But I just hope that, you know, I can keep getting that feeling of just seeing people's lives change, or even like in the darkness, because it can get dark. Like, knowing the darkness yourself, like you can see that other people can go through it, and it's like, you know, I just don't want you to go through it, and then see them like click. It's one of the most amazing things when it snaps.
Yeah. There's another thing I want to talk about here, and it's really along the same course here. The 2020-2021 season. Obviously, the crowd was a percentage of what it was. Still coming off of COVID.
Yep.
Luckily, we're here at GCU, and they said, we're going to keep going. And I love that personally. And
Show goes on.
Everybody ended up doing it. We just kind of led the charge, right? You guys go to March Madness. And also a really tragic thing happened at the end of the year. Can you kind of tell me how that entire season went? And I'm guessing there was a lot of happiness and there was a lot of sadness, but also how did that joy that you mentioned that you had at that moment, how did that kind of all get your way all the way through there? Really explain to me what it felt like to play in March Madness first off, though.
Yeah. March Madness, unbelievable feeling. I mean, COVID year, so it was a little bit different. There's a little asterisk right next to that year. No, not for those reasons. Like, we made it there. Don't discredit that.
Okay, cool.
But the look of
sure.
March Madness,
Yeah,
it's just
it looked
different.
different.
We were all in the same spot. So I mean, we walk around this giant hotel room, or giant hotel, and Tom Izzo's sitting right there, just in the lobby. And we're like, holy smokes, like, this is Tom Izzo. Like, are you kidding me? And then the Gonzaga basketball team will come walking past us. And we're like, oh, man, like, we're here. We're here.
time.
And then just being able to, they had the carpets laid out. And it was just like March Madness. And then it was like here in Indianapolis. It's like, whew, took one of those, by the way. So, had to keep the memorabilia.
Yeah.
But just being able to, like, be somewhere that you looked at growing up all the time and all of a sudden be like playing in it, stepping on the court and it saying March Madness that you've seen from that sky view down from all the camera angles that you grew up watching. Absolutely incredible. Like, wow. Like, just the surreal. Like, that's all I got to say. And then, of course, like, you're cutting down nets, all that stuff prior. And it's just like you feel on top of the world. Mm-hmm. And being there with a group of guys that you spend all the time with and you have that love with, like, I can't even find the words for that.
Yeah. I was there. I was one of the lucky students that got to go to Indianapolis.
That is so awesome.
And first off, I love the Super Bowl, but like March Madness is absolutely, and I don't think it'll ever be anything else that tops it for me. It's my favorite sporting event of all time. Mm-hmm. It just is not better. Those first 2 days of just watching basketball all day.
All the upsets.
Come on.
Yeah.
All the upsets.
Give me the brackets.
Yeah. No, it gets your heart racing. And that's one of the most, I think it's the best tournament in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of other people would, World Cup, all that stuff. Like, that's great. That's great. That is honestly great. But seeing all the different matches and all the upsets, how quickly things can change. Oh my goodness. If you want like an adrenaline like attack, like that's that. Like, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, it's great. Like, one of the best things to experience, honestly. And I hope we get to experience more. God willing, like, let's go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure it's motivating. And also, you didn't start that year, but you came right in. And I would say you were probably our best scorer at that. I mean, Javon started going off there towards the end. Mm-hmm. But you and him really, in Vegas and in Indianapolis, were like, hey, we're here now too. Because there was a really good senior class set in place. But how would you explain you just started going off a little bit there near the end of that season?
I just wanted to win.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, I just wanted to win. So it was like, I'm just going to play hard and just out-hustle everybody else and see where that goes. And honestly, like, it just clicked and, things went my way. Ball was dropping into the basket, all this stuff. And I was like, sweet. Like, all right, why not? I'll take it. Yeah.
Sweet. So then the year ends. And, hey, it was a 2 against a 15. And you guys put up a lot of points. Just couldn't stop that high-scoring offense, and that's expected, really. If you guys had pulled off the upset, man, that would have been crazy. But maybe we're saving that for this year, right?
Yeah.
A couple days later, we lose Oscar Freyer. We didn't know him personally. You knew him pretty dang well. You were his teammate, and it really shocked this entire community just losing him just like that. Being his teammate, being his brother, in Christ. I want you to kind of break down just how that moment went for you and your teammates, but also if you could explain to us just the hope that we should all have because he did dedicate his life to Christ just a little bit sooner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, honestly, he's got an amazing story. The year before, like, he didn't get to play because he was ineligible, due to some unfortunate circumstances that happened outside of the basketball. And then he comes into the next year, and it was like, okay, like, new coaching staff, all this stuff. And they're like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Do we want, Oscar on the team, all this stuff? And, it was fighting through that battle. And then ultimately they were like, yeah, we want him. And then we go through the whole year. And he was not anywhere close to like looking at God, not anywhere close in that faith. And it was just like, okay, like we got somebody who, so to speak, like we have to watch over, make sure like we keep the culture that they're trying to start, because it's Coach Drew's first year.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to start that faith culture and everything. It's just like, okay, we got to be able to, keep the culture with not sacrificing it too much. And so that was the battle in the beginning. But then you go, and I'm not saying anything bad about Oscar. Oscar's an amazing man, regardless of,
We know that,
yeah, like he's absolutely incredible. And then you go through the year and we start having our chapels. And you see the, chapels when people look down a little bit, just listening to the words, and then the eyes like started slowly lifting throughout the year, and like the eye contact started happening, and you can see that like they were listening, and not just hearing, but they were listening to the words that were being spoken. And then the questions started happening, and it was like, the little curiosity started, creeping in. And it was for more than just Oscar too. It was for more other players too that were there. And then you move on, and I remember, so I prayer journal a little bit, and on the flight home from Dixie State, we had lost one, and then we won the second one, or actually we won both. And then I remember Oscar running into the locker room, and he's like, I want to lead the Lord's Prayer, because we do Lord's Prayer after everything. Yeah. And I can just see like the coaches, staff, like some of the other believers in the room just like kind of lit up. Like they're like, no way, like this is amazing. Like he's wow. God's got his hand reaching out, and he's like starting to, reach for it as well. And so he starts leading us in it. And it was awesome. And then you see his journey continue on, and then we get down to the tournament, playoffs, and the coaches during our chapel asked that question, like, whoever wants to take that hand, God's hand, and like, take a full grasp of it and surrender their life to Christ, like now's the time to. And I believe 6 people did that.
Wow.
That day, and Oscar was one of them. March 12th, 21, I believe. And so just knowing that, like we just went in, regardless of what the conference tournament would have played out, we already won. And
Amen.
Yeah,
bigger than basketball.
It was bigger than basketball. And then honestly, I think that gave us the freedom to go out and play the next night and just do our thing, go and win it. And then we got to go to March Madness, and like everyone's on this, riding this high. We played the game, unfortunate outcome, but like, wow, to think of the things that we did, and we come back. Last time I saw Oscar was we were getting off the bus, and we were all saying like, "I love yous," all this stuff, like, be safe, all this stuff. We'll see you later. And then to get that call like a couple days later, it was pretty rough. Guys were crying, I was crying. There was a lot of like, why? Like, why did this happen? Why'd you take somebody from us that we love so dearly? And after a little bit, just like reconvening with God and, talking to God, like that kind of weird peace hit me. And it was like, like I'm still very sad, but it's like, like I know he's where he's meant to be. And it's like 11 days prior, like he surrendered his life to Christ. And it was like, you know what, God, I know once you had him that you're like, you know what, I'm going to take you home.
Yeah.
It's like, I need you here now. Like that infectious smile that you have, like I need that up here in heaven.
Man.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that he was up there, like it just gave me peace, and loved the dude to death. Like he's my guy, and I can't wait to, meet him up there one day, even past death. Like,
Amen.
Love him to eternity. So
For sure.
can't wait to see him up there.
Well, death lost its sting.
Death lost his sting.
Amen.
Has no sting anymore.
We get the short and the stick down here.
Mm-hmm. Honestly.
There's nothing else we could ask for them.
That's preach. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like that was a real, experience for me. And it was like, very sad that we don't get to see that smile every day, but knowing that like that smiles, everyone's going to see that forever.
Yeah.
Man.
I'll take it. Like I saw it for that whole year, 2 years that I was with them, but they get to see it for like ever. So
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's a tough moment that your team felt, and you're a leader on that team. So, wow. I mean, I think that's gonna be super inspiring for people to hear. Every time I hear it, it's just like, it's God. That's just God in a nutshell right there. And a lot of people can be like, how is that God? Like, God took him away after he gave his life to Christ, but you said it yourself. Like, once he had given his life to Christ, like, God needed him up there, you know? And that's just the piece that we have to take with us. So thank you for sharing that. That's pretty awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. This has been, we could keep talking forever. We know you need to get your rest. You got some big games ahead this week. You got UTRGV. You got Dima coming in, old teammate on Wednesday, and then you guys are playing on ESPNU. So this is a chance for all you viewers at home who haven't watched GCU. This guy's going to be on the national stage, 9 p.m. Mountain Time, pretty late. But if you want to stay up and watch not only a good brand of basketball, some guys that follow Christ, that are, as we've said, warriors for Christ on the court, and then also one crazy student section. Tune in 9 p.m. Mountain Time, ESPNU on Friday night. It's gonna be a show. I know you guys are gonna show out for that moment.
Oh, of course. Can't wait to see you guys there.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's get this train rolling. I'm super excited.
It's
gonna
time,
be great.
Man. It's time.
Yep.
It's time.
Yeah. Well, we just want to thank you again, man, because, you know, I know you could be doing anything right now and taking the time to come on here. And I know there's people watching who maybe strive to be, you know, college athlete and taking the time to come out here and talk about what has really gotten you to this place, you know, your faith. And, man, we need more leaders who are grounded in that faith, because, you know, this world is crazy. You know, there's a lot of cultures taking over right now, and people who are standing up for Christ. That light's going to keep shining brighter, man. And we really appreciate that, and everybody appreciates you, man.
Of course. And I just want to say thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
course.
this is just honestly what you guys do here. It's a miracle. It's a blessing. So
We know.
Man,
We know.
yeah. All him, man.
no, I truly, and so it's great. But for like people who are trying to, you know, find their faith and all that stuff, like where to start, like you don't have to like necessarily have more knowledge than anybody else. It's just like reach out to God, take that first step, dedicate your life, and honestly just walk with it. And God will place the steps right in front of you. Just keep staying in tune, and God will guide your feet. That's the biggest thing.
Love it.
Knocking, the door will be opened.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Episode number 7, I believe. And we already got Gabe McGlothan on the show. So once again, we appreciate you coming on. I'm so glad you saw our clip and connected with us. Hopefully we can maybe have you on again in the future, because I feel like we could have talked for another couple hours. You were spitting bars that entire time. And I'm excited for everybody to see this episode. So thanks again for watching, everybody at home. We will see you in 2 weeks for episode number 8. Make sure you tune in on ESPN Plus Friday night, 9 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.